Hey, folks. What's going on? How are you? How is everybody this afternoon? I'm not well. I don't feel good. Uh, I'm not sure if I'm going to be ambulatory at 8 o'clock tonight. I have a 1E AD&D game to run tonight. And I wanted to have enough energy, but I also wanted to do this for you guys. So, uh, you know, because it's what I do. Um, but anyway, yeah. So I just figured if I did this now and then came back and or left and then took a nap, I could make the D&D game, which starts at 10 o'clock tonight. Because a weird thing about the flu, regardless of what kind of influenza it is, is, you know, it kind of like it messes with your circadian rhythms, which I'm told is not an album by Peter Gabriel. But anyway, so, you know, at 10 o'clock tonight, I could feel like $1,000,000 until like 2 in the morning when, you know, a massive avalanche of lead bricks, metaphorically speaking, lands on me and end up feeling terrible. So I said, well, I got to do the show, right? I got to be here for you guys. So I'll do it now while I'm still at least a little bit ambulatory. So here I am, and we don't have a particular. We don't have a particular direction we're going right now. So if you guys have any questions for me, any questions about GaryCon, any questions about any projects I'm working on, any questions about, you know, anything, this would be a good time to ask them. Of course, we had kind of an impromptu Sunday surprise stream last night, and my lovely wife, Mrs. the Dungeon Delver, was here. I'm sitting in her chair. I mean, it's not her chair like it belongs to her, like I absconded with it. But so that's like my chair with a green high back that you guys can usually see on camera sits up higher. But I just didn't have it in me to lift this chair. It weighs maybe 15 pounds, if that. But just the idea of trying to pick this up at fully raised arm extension height, which Doomsword knows what my studio looks like. It's not just a case of, well, just roll it around and roll it out of the room. I would have to carry it out to the kitchen at the very least. And right now, that's just not on the menu. So I guess I'll just kind of ramble for a little while. And if I run out of energy, I hope you guys will understand. But I'm going to watch your statements and comments, and I will answer your questions as you have them. And I'll do this for as long as I can. I'm not down, and I'm not like going to get like over emotional or anything like that. I literally like physically don't feel good, right? So when I talk about this, don't think that like I'm going to start bawling, because I'm not. But anyway, yes, I'm wearing my robe because I have a chill. What are the most D&D movies to me? Okay, good question to start it off with, Kabuki, before I meander off, distracted by something shiny. The most D&D movies to me are, in no particular order, Big Trouble in Little China, let's see, Big Trouble in Little China, probably the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings film, definitely the Rankin Bass The Hobbit. What else? Wow, that's a good question. There's some there's some low tier ones in there. There's a Russian Finnish that is from Finland film production about the story of Lemminkainen. It has dwarves, dryads, witches, magic spells, everything. It got spoofed on MST3K, but I think it was unfairly done. But I recommend it. At the Earth's Core, thank you, Drone Swarm. At the Earth's Core, yes. Excalibur, Conan the Barbarian. Now, believe it or not, when I was a kid, I really wanted to see Krull, but I never did. But I did see Dragon Slayer. Dragon Slayer is a great D&D movie. Oh my God. How could I forget? You got to go with Lady Hawk. You know? You have a paladin. You have a swan may. Well, not swan may, maybe were creature. A cleric and a thief adventuring together. Lady Hawk. Too much backstory in Conan the Barbarian. Not sure I agree with that. It's funny to see Peter McNichol take on these increasingly weird roles that he has in TV and films, and you think of him as like this young wizard's apprentice. Also, how bold of the filmmakers making a Disney movie where a pretty princess dies horribly. Spoiler alert. Now, this may cause some controversy. But if you're doing a Oriental Adventures themed first edition AD&D game, which you absolutely can, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, assassins, ninja, all the stuff that high-level monks can do. Wow. That's awesome, Acid Reflow. That sounds amazing. Oh gosh. So that's my that's my D&D, and I'm sure some more will pop into my head. Some kind of unusual ones, would be in the mix too. Labyrinth. Labyrinth's a great D&D. Time Bandits. And one of the most D&D movies, you guys aren't going to expect this. Chinese Ghost Story. I have a Chinese Ghost Story that is a not safe for the family D&D movie. Sui Hark, what have you done, young man? The Sinbad movies, the Hercules movies, anything Harryhausen, right? But anyway, damn it, it was right on the tip of my tongue and I forgot it. I said, you guys aren't going to suspect this one, and now it's gone out of my head. I'm sure it'll come back around. Okay, Hawk this. I know, Gene, my brother in Christ. I know Hawk the Slayer is close to many people's hearts, but it doesn't do it for me. But I get it, right? It has some very D&D tropes in it. Okay, so here is the D&D movie that you guys don't expect, and I'll tell you why. The Fisher King. I have said before that the best D&D movie is a D&D movie that shows the game through the eyes of players. And that is kind of what's going on in The Fisher King. Oh, Beastmaster, sure. Sword and the Sorcerer. But there you go. If you guys want, I mean, there's a lot of human drama, and your heart will literally split in twain for everyone involved. But I promise you, see The Fisher King. We can mock it for its stupidity all we want, but Mazes and Monsters, it is kids playing D&D, right? And I've said before, a good D&D movie needs to be about people playing D&D. Yeah, somebody up the stream, Matt, mentioned Clash, but it merits mentioning again. Really should have some water here, like with me. Like I should have water in general. But so tell me what you guys think of that, The Fisher King as a D&D film. I want to know what you think of that, because that's a spicy, bold take. And it's Terry Gilliam, right? I would love, you know what? I would love to get Dungeon Minister on the screen or go on his show and talk about The Fisher King as Christian allegory, as an emotional, it's really an emotional rebirth, not just for the characters, but for the viewer. If you really just open up and let that movie just blow right through you, you'll come away changed. Maybe not permanently, maybe not profoundly, but you kind of won't see things exactly the same for a while. And yes, Gilliam had a lot of D&D in his stuff. Yes, Drone Swarm. So the capsule summary of The Fisher King is this. Jeff Bridges plays a Howard Stern-like radio personality in New York who is at the height of his power and can basically get away with saying and doing anything. A regular caller to his show calls him up one day and is groaning about the state of society and how callow and empty people are. And so without thinking, he just snaps off. He's like, you know what? Somebody should just take a gun and just kill yuppies. Just yuppies are horrible. They're the death of this city. They're the death of society. Just go kill yuppies. Just go kill a yuppie. This guy does it. He ends the life of Robin Williams' wife in front of Robin Williams at a bar. And Robin Williams suffers a mental breakdown because of it and becomes homeless, a transient person. After the mass casualty event, Bridges loses his job. I think he winds up working in like a shoe store or something. Like his life literally spirals out of control until one day he saves Robin Williams from being beaten up by muggers. Now, in a They Might Be Giants-esque twist, not the band or their music, but the 1974 George C. Scott movie, in his imaginings, he sees Jeff Bridges' character as being the object of his quests. the nightmares, the post-traumatic stress disorder that Robin Williams' character suffers is manifested in these elaborate hallucinations, and they are gorgeous. Go on YouTube and look up Fisher King Red Knight scene, and you'll know what I'm talking about. That is Terry Gilliam going all in. He put more in the Red Knight scenes than the 2000 D&D movie put in the entire movie as far as crafted fantasy. Well, Jeff Bridges recognized this guy as one of the victims of his inconsiderate words and sets about trying to heal him. And that's where I'm going to leave it. You should see it. It involves fantasy scenes, quests, everything else set against the backdrop of two psychically wounded people in New York City. Now, with that said, there is there's an Irish animated film, and I can't remember what it's called. I wish I could remember what it was. If you know the one I'm talking about, you know, it's a good D&D movie. I'll have to look it up and get that information back to you. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. The animated 70s one or the live action films in the early aughts? The Green Knight movie, yes. The 1980 Green Knight movie. Anyway, let's jump back to what I was going to say. But you guys, you guys come at me with more questions if you want. Thank you, Mark. Yes, I agree. It's an exceptional film. Now, I'm going to preface what I'm about to say with, I think maybe Virtua. I think there might have been some giant slaying in it. A young boy befriends a forest spirit in it, but I think there's some giant slaying in it. Anyway, moving on. I'll get to bed in a little bit, Lightman. Anyway. What you guys, everyone who contributed, and everyone on this channel, the people who cheered me on, the people who stayed subscribed, Legend, of course, Legend, Damien, that's a good call. What you did for me by getting the wife and I to Gary Con and me up to an Alabama game this fall is phenomenal. It's amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I wouldn't try to insult what you've done for me by giving you your money back. Unless you were in a tight situation and I knew I had it and I knew you needed it. I have a karmic debt to repay the community. And don't say what I do here all the time is payment in advance for that. I have a karmic debt and I am working on I'm working on making good on that. There's somebody who's like a tertiary friend, like an ancillary, like a friend of a friend. But she and her wife are very nice people. I know they've watched some of the videos and streams. Excuse me, anyone with headphones. I know they've watched the videos and I know they might be subscribed to the channel, but I don't know if they're watching right now. So I sat back and today, now she lives up kind of in the same part of the country that Tonka Todd does. And I was like, oh, wow, I should call and make sure everything's okay because storms. And both she and her parents had tornadoes within miles of them, but thankfully uninjured, undamaged. And we talked, and I shared some pictures with her. And I said, you know what? How about I run a D&D game for you and your wife and a few other people that want to join in? We'll do like a one-off. And she was over the moon with the idea. And I was like, just embrace the old school cool. And she was like, that sounds fantastic. And I'm going to try and do more little things like that. Because yes, Guide Key is a money-making affair. Well, it was a money-making affair once. I made fat bank from Amazon. But I'm going to strive to do more things like that for the community to pay back karmically into that system, to add energy into the system, to keep it rotating and generating more energy. Play it forward. Darn right, Kabuki. And that's part of what I intended to do. I was so glad that I thought, hey, I should reach out. I should contact her. I should see what's going on. Because I was able to then, kind of say, by the way, and like she even called out to her wife. She was like, do you want, Bill's talking about a game. Do you? And she was like, yes. I could hear her in the background. So that's nice and that's awesome. So back to stuff. What is my favorite character moment from a D&D game? Getting shot with a crossbow so many times and still surviving in a D&D game that Gary was running, that he referred to me as the Hat Rack. I was playing at Milwaukee Game Fest. And so I got pranged with like 4 crossbow bolts from some Duragar, but I was still up. And Gary was like, you, the Hat Rack, what do you do next? And I was like, because like I didn't have a good spell to drop at that moment. And I said, I endeavor to persevere. Gary looks around, picks up a die. I don't even know what die it was, but he rolls it and goes, you succeed. So there you go. There you go. Mark, I'm going to tell you something about gatekeeping, my brother. We should all of us gatekeep. And I'm going to qualify that before you unsubscribe. Here's the gate. Do you want to play Dungeons and Dragons? Do you want to set aside your burdens for 90 minutes, 2 hours, an hour, 45 minutes? Roll some dice, pretend to be an elf, slay some dragons, win some gold? That's your gate. If people can't or won't meet those entries, well, maybe it's not for you. But that is the only gate you keep. If people are willing to sit down and learn to play, congratulations, they're through the gate. I spoke directly to you, Mark. So what do you think? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, great. Because I'll tell you a funny thing about the spoken word, because this happened to me today. I have a lawn guy. He's newish. And let me ask you something real quick about gatekeeping. You guys ever go to a nature trail and there's like a little fence that's closed and it's like trail closed on Sunday, but there's like no fence. You can literally just walk around it. Like that's the kind of gate I'm talking about. Keep like the keeper. Dark Knight, it was fun gaming with Gary. It was. Yes, yes, yes. Osric Swords and Wizardry, Old School Essentials, First Edition and Original Dungeons and Dragons, and Basic D&D. We're all here for each other. We're all here for each other. And if somebody else wants on Fun Island, just glance at their papers and welcome them. Ranger default mood. But anyway, I was gonna say something before I answered your question about gatekeeping, about gaming with people, about paying it forward. It's just what we got to do. It's just what we got to do. Oh, I know. Somebody had asked about yes/no questions. I should be like Commander Pike, Christopher Pike. You know, when he was all burned up in the Star Trek episode. Dude. Answering yes or no. What's to call the Zero Edition? Original D&D. Drone Swarm, I just call it original D&D. That's also a great song, Kabuki, In the Light by Led Zeppelin. And I do look the part. My face is in a giant blue scab, but I guess they retconned that now. He's not going to get burned up, and Kirk's never going to be commander of the Enterprise. Because, screw what we grew up with. Let's just change old Star Trek. Kirk, no, it's different now. I hate that. That's like reverse gatekeeping. That's like throwing us out and saying, now there's a new canon gate and you can't come back in. Don't like it. I'm going to scroll up and see your questions. Make sure I didn't. Anyway, Dark Knight. Gaming with Gary was a lot of fun. But I got to tell you something. Gary would have been the first person to tell you, loot the body. They sure did. Gary would be the first person to tell you the best gaming group is the gaming group that you have and love. And that's my Monday night group and my Tuesday night live stream group and my Friday Gamma World group, right? These guys are more than just seat fillers for me. Temple of the Frog is not the first, but it was evoked through print as the first D&D. I think Temple of the Frog predate. Now, somebody correct me, but I think it predates like Palace of the Vampire Queen as the first published D&D module. The thing about it is it then asks the question, is it a published module or is it a damn it, I'm sorry. Or is it just a sample dungeon? Is it the first module or is it just a sample dungeon? It's fully fleshed out. The entry price back in 75 was a bit steep. That's the equivalent of like $30 for a game book today. Okay, Rogue Scholar, thank you for setting me straight. He's still destined to have the accident and will still incur. Thank you, Rogue Scholar. That makes it a little more palatable. I appreciate that. See, I got the best audience because you guys keep me straight. I'm trying to get this fever to break. So, like, if you guys see me start to sweat, I don't think I'm on the verge of passing out. Should make those fevers break. So, and I watched a couple, and it wasn't half bad. Okay, it wasn't half bad. There were a couple moments I was like, yeah. It is, Kabuki. I really hope this is just influenza. I really sincerely hope this is just influenza. Blackmore was book 5 or supplement 2. No, I'm good, Drone. I'm good. I'll stay on with you guys. I feel like one of the airmen, like you guys have seen, of course, the unmatched in terms of Cold War tension war games. Like, you could take the beginning 10 and the final 15 minutes of war games and put them together, and it's an amazing, terrifying, ultimately happy ending film. But I like all of it. So yeah, General Behringer, played by Barry Corbin, well, talking about stay with us as long as you can. Just understand we're right here with you. So until the nuke hits, guys, I'm right here on the line. If you see like a big bright flash and see that I've dropped off, I didn't make it. Venge 3er. My first module experience was Search of the Unknown. Came in the D&D box set, and you never finished it. Yeah, In Search of the Unknown. Good stuff. Now, I did... I'm very proud of this. I mentioned this before on the show. Paul Stormberg reached out to me back last summer and was like, hey, my buddy Doug wants to make B1's maps. He wants to do a B1 diorama. And I told him you could 3D print some stuff for him. And Doug and I chit-chatted, and I talked him down to doing it 15 millimeter. 28 millimeter, those maps would be like probably 15 feet by 8 feet. They'd be enormous. Shall we play a game, Kabuki? But I did all the doors. So if you saw that or have seen it at, well, I guess that would be the same thing, wouldn't it? If you've seen Doug's diorama, all the doors, all the magical pools, and there is a leering devil face sculpture on a wall, I 3D printed those up. Hey, Dungeon Minister, right now, I don't know if you were on earlier. Yeah, Strange Days is phenomenal. Johnny Mnemonic, I could take or leave. It was very disappointing because I'm a huge William Gibson fan. Anyway, Dungeon Minister, let's do a show together. I don't know when, May, perhaps. Mayhap. I want to talk to you about the Terry Gilliam fantasy drama, The Fisher King, and frame it in a discussion about faith and redemption, our obligation to the covenant. Let me know if you're down to do that. In an overall, like, layered inside a delicious chocolatey tabletop gaming shell. Think right now the best Dungeon Minister could do is cast slow poison by sending me a bottle of Canadian whiskey. So there you go. It's going to happen. Dungeon Minister and I are going to talk about the Terry Gilliam film, The Fisher King, which means I'm going to have to do a lot of reading up because I have a distant relationship with the scripture, let us say. So Dungeon Minister will be our spirit guide for that discussion. You feel like I'm the sage brought from my sick bed? I feel, okay, so this is not a D&D movie, but I love it just the same. Unless your D&D movie just involves zero-level fighters and the occasional bard. The Quiet Man. I freaking love The Quiet Man. I need to watch it this year. I know we're past St. Patty's Day by a stretch or two. But there is an old man who literally, for the duration of the film, is dying. He is on his deathbed. Now, if you don't know The Quiet Man, John Wayne immigrates from America back to Ireland. He was born in Ireland, came to America in probably the 19-teens after the war, has come back to Ireland in the mid-20s, possibly 30s. Sees Maureen O'Hara, love at first sight. She is married. She's not married. She is the sister of an intractable village bully played by Victor McLaughlin. And Mummy, 1999, yes. That is a fantastic movie, Dark Knight. Sean, his backstory is that in a boxing match, and the reason he's come home to Ireland is in a boxing match, and he was a successful boxer, he killed a man. And it haunts him. And people want to know why he won't beat up Maureen O'Hara's bullying brother, get her dowry from him. And he just shirks that constantly. When the dam finally breaks and he has had enough of Maureen O'Hara's nonsense, he drags her like 5 miles across the countryside, presents her to his brother who's out working in the fields, and says, "No dowry, no marriage. It's your rules, not mine." And she has a fit and says, "You would do this to me." The whole village is gathered to watch this. And grudgingly, her brother, not wanting to be humiliated and bring shame on the family, counts out the money, hands it to him, and says, "Take it, you spawn, and I hope you choke." He looks at Maureen O'Hara, who takes off her flat cap, goes over to the steam-powered tractor, opens the boiler, and he throws it in there. She slams it and looks at him and says, "I'll have the supper on," and goes home. This starts a fight that lasts 10 minutes of screen time. When word spreads around the village that they're fighting, finally, Sean Thornton and Victor McLaughlin's character, John Wayne and Victor McLaughlin, are finally fighting. Everybody in the town wants to see this fight. So the old man who I am comparing myself to, see, I told you that story to tell you this story. He is being read the last rites. He is on his deathbed. Somebody runs by the window. The daughter, the wife are crying over him, and he's just looking beatific as he's being read the last rites. Somebody sticks their head in their cottage and says, "Sean Thornton and Red Will Danaher," that's his character name, "Sean Thornton and Red Will Danaher are fighting." The old man jumps up, pulls his trousers and suspenders on, grabs his cane, and flies out of the house with the priest and his family chasing after him, begging him to return to bed. That is where I'm at right now. And this is the Sean Thornton, Red Will Danaher fight. It's talking to you guys. So I missed something talking to you guys, I'm sure of it. I like the idea of a DM who allows a player to make up some adventures by having them role play a spell. It's an interesting approach. Remo Williams is fun. Love that one. I don't think she'd want what I've got, Ving 3er. I don't, buddy. She'd take one look at me and be like, nope, he's going to die. Peace of Christ be upon you. Because I don't wanna, Jimmy. You're not my mom. 4K says 12-hour clock just saw Honor Among Thieves. And that's what I'm hearing from a lot of people. I just wish I'd been able to get to it in time to get one of the popcorn buckets to store my dice in. You know, I mean, if I'm going to go and enjoy something like that, I want something like that. They got dragon heads in Europe. They got like red dragon heads for their popcorn buckets, and we got D20s. We got a dodecahedron I could print on my FDM printer over there. We don't do con saves, Ving 3er. We don't do that here. We make save versus death. One shot. No con saves. I have do I dare? Dungeon Minister, am I playing with dangerous powers if I make a save versus death now? Do I make a save versus death now? Do I dare tempt fate? This is just for the Dungeon Minister. And if he doesn't answer, anyone who super chats to answer. I'm probably tempting fate. Okay. All right. Here we go. I consider myself at best a first or second level fighter, which means my save versus death. I got to open up my Dungeon Master's Guide PDF here. Let's look at this together. Doop de doop de doo. Adobe is a piece of garbage. Doop de doop de doo. I just love the fact that I used to be able to fit the Adobe Acrobat 4.0 installer on a single floppy, and I could read PDFs on a junk surplus 386 DX50 laptop with 4 megs of memory, and I used it as my go-to travel DM laptop. And I could have 3 instances of Adobe Reader open with a monster manual, a player's handbook, and a Dungeon Master's Guide back in 2000. I have a 16-core Xeon with 32 gigs of RAM, a workstation here that was gifted to me, donated to the show by Bo Ganora. I open up 2 PDFs, and it goes kajank. Anyway, now that it's open, now that it's gifted me, fucking Adobe, and constantly, do you want to edit this? Come on, pay us every month for the right to edit your PDFs. Dickheads. Here we go. It's not psionic save. Piesu Domine, dona eas requiem. All right, here we go. So I'm fighter 2. Paralyzation, poison, or death magic. I get a 14. You throwing a bless down on me, Dungeon Minister? And it was a great laptop. It had a full travel keyboard. I loved that thing's keyboard, a clicky keyboard. All right, there we go. So I'll get a +1 on this. And I'm not fudging it. It landed cocked in the pile of other dice. And I got a 17, modifies up to an 18. Dungeon Minister, thank you. I mean, I'd have made it anyway, but it helps all the better. Yeah, Bob, I'm just hanging out. This is like what you guys are getting tonight, just open chat. Now, tomorrow night, we're playing first edition AD&D on stream, 8 o'clock. Well, I'll have Preamble Ramble, but 9 to 11, first edition AD&D. Wednesday night, Kyle will be here, which will be nice because I won't have to talk to him. I'm just kidding. Kyle will be here doing the majority of the talking. Thursday night, Jeff Talanian in the house. Don't miss that. Don't miss that. The +1 means I don't have to consult I don't have to consult for MAID. Was that a Selectric, an IBM Selectric, which were amazing machines? They were Katatonenskunst, conservative design is what that means, by the way. Katatonenkunst. They weighed as much as an engine block. Loved those things. There was a mod you could do to them. I remember seeing this as a kit you could buy from Creative Computing. Now, for those of you who don't know, thank you, Amara. Thank you. I can't wait. Yeah, I'm sick, Mobius. No, lots of people collect typewriters. Anyway, so no, it wasn't Creative Computing. Creative Computing was the magazine. Protecto. Now, if you had an 8-bit Commodore machine back in the day, you remember 10 pages of Protecto ads, right? RAM chips for your Commodore PET 8032 or 4032, memory expansion cartridge, and IEEE 488 disk controller for your VIC-20. But Protecto sold a kit that you would wire into a Selectric and then plug into the parallel port or the IEEE 488 port of a Commodore and use the Selectric as a printer. It would send the electrical pulses through the key matrix from the circuitry in the embedded chips in the controller. Dungeon Minister, thank you. I will do my best to get better. Yes, me too, Mark. Me too. I got that bad boy in 1983, just after the 64 was released. Now, I'm going to be honest. Expanded with a couple of tweaks. The VIC for overall use, not necessarily for software library, but for overall use, like with a 32K Ultimate cartridge, could be as good as the Commodore 64. But it was a great little machine, and I will argue that it had the best 8-bit version of Atari's Battlezone. I loved Battlezone on my VIC-20. They did their best to emulate the vector graphics, the sound. I mean, the Pokey chip in the Battlezone machine was just crunch, rumble, beep, beep. And the VIC's 3 voice generator could absolutely do that. Yeah, you really needed it. Well, sorry, Mobius. I guess I'll see you around. You were bookbinding. Very cool, Uncle Brett. Very cool. And I think I just heard my lovely wife arrive at the house. Now, I'll tell you this. There is a company that makes a series, like a family of cartridge and floppy disk, and I think they make tape versions too, of a fantasy RPG like Bard's Tale or Might and Magic, the old school Might and Magic, for the VIC-20. Guys, the graphics will blow your minds. The guys that did that just, woo, good stuff. Classic 8-bit RPGs. Temple of Apshai, Sword of Fargol. Date Stones of Rin. Yeah, go look up the B-Zone port for the VIC-20 on YouTube. It is is excellent. Caverns of Thracia. Corlang, I'm not, but thank you. So my wife's gonna beat on my office door here in a minute and be like, "Why aren't you asleep?" Telengard, yes, Wenger, that's great. Is it Wenger or Veng 3 or I don't know, and I'm not sure. 4K, thank you. I will get ready. Wizardry. You had a roommate. I can believe it. I remember. Now, I lusted after Wizardry, but all I had was a VIC-20 back in the day, and they were never going to mash that down. Venger, okay. They were never going to mash that down into a 16K cartridge, particularly when I think it took 24K on the Apple II. Yeah, you could open up Telengard. But there was a controversy in the gaming community, yes, all the way back in 83, 84, because a company, people were so committed to Wizardry. Okay, so peace, drone swarm, take care. I'll tell you guys this story. We're coming up on top of the hour. I don't want to go, but we're coming in hard and heavy, guys. So I'll tell you this story and then we'll wrap. So a company that did like spreadsheet and database programs for the Apple II released a program called Wiz Plus. Now, you know how in, like when you start a game of, say, and this has been true across tons of PC and home computer RPGs, like going all the way back to the Gold Box games. But the Temple of Apshai, yeah. But you'd copy using a utility on the Wizardry disk. You'd make a copy of your Wizardry disk, and you'd put what you were supposed to do is put your Wizardry game disk away, because character death and the game ending finale were permanently written to the disk. So people would lose their parties and be very down. Like, they'd fight their way down to a level that they were totally not prepared for and just get their asses handed to them. Now, I would always make rescue parties because your bodies would persist. Your bodies would stay where they were. Permadeath, hardcore. That's right, Virtue Adept. And so this database company came up with Wiz Plus, which was a very tweaked hard sector or soft sector editor that would look at your Wizardry disk and resurrect parties You could alter character stats. It was a modern day trainer. But here's the thing. A lot of people didn't heed Surtek's warning. Do not play on your original Wizardry disc. And what would happen is they'd run Wiz Plus. Wiz Plus could and would corrupt your Wizardry disc. And here's the thing. It allowed you to make a backup of your gameplay disc. It was a crack program also. And Surtek was firmly of the mindset that they were not going to honor requests to repair your party or send you a replacement disc. And this was a big controversy. And I remember in Creative Computing, the article was titled Wiz Plus or Wiz Minus. And Surtek, again, they were just of the mindset, look, we can tell when discs got munged by this. If you send us your game disc and say, oh, it's corrupted, and we find you've been screwing around with the sectors, Auto Duel was a good game. And Teleport in Wizardry, you could send yourself into Solid Rock, which was always lots of fun. All right, boys and girls, we're at the top of the hour. I'm going to go lie under some blankets and sweat this out. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. Do y'all want the end credits? I got to add some names to the end credits. I add some names to the end credits because there's some people who've subbed and I need to give them their proper due. Anyway, guys, have a lovely evening. Be good.
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around. Some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle way off course? Naked as a toad, all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just take me to